You've just witnessed your entire group of friends get butchered in front of your eyes. You manage to avenge them and take down the killer, but he comes back to life stronger than ever. Do we have what it takes to beat the Mountain Man in Cold Prey 2? Let's do our best, shall we? In this video, I'll be covering the sequel, and if you haven't already seen the first movie, check out my previous review where I go over the events that led up to this. This story takes place at a hospital, and we're introduced to the people working here. Nurse Cam is a kind and heartwarming people person who cares for her patients. Herman here is the head of the hospital and makes all the big decisions. He also has a slight teeny tiny crush on Cam that's never developed. There's also Nurse What's-Her-Face, whose only contribution to the story is adding some romance and then dying. After doing checkup on an elderly lady, Cam goes to chat up Boss Man, who's looking up cheat codes on the internet, just a couple steps away from making it to the big stage. Apparently the hospital is being shut down for some unknown reason and the ladies are celebrating, while Herman is less enthusiastic about it. Yes, we're getting laid off, finally! Now I can follow my dream of opening an OnlyFans account. Head Dog pushes a box full of tools and asks if Nurse Cam's boyfriend wants any of this quote-unquote garbage. Perfectly good tools? Better throw them out. But not right now, I'll do tomorrow. We might need them for some spooky stuff later. Cam goes outside to speak with her boyfriend, who gets a call about an abandoned car. That sounds familiar. He drives off and we get some more beautiful looking wide shots, which I honestly love. Boyfriend finds the car and hey, remember that one shot of product placement from the first one? Cause we sure do. Not finding anything, he makes a quick phone call to report his findings, or lack thereof, and starts driving back. His car ride back feels like a giant car commercial, and he takes his eyes off the road for a second and almost hits someone standing in the middle of the road. Don't text and drive, kids. It's Sophie from the first one. She's alive. Oh yeah, in case you didn't watch my first review, her name is now Sophie. She passes out, he bum rushes her, and they head back to the hospital together. Sophie gets her very own bed and basically tells them the plot of the first one. The cops are skeptical and share a look of uncertainty. Did she say boogeyman? They question her state of mind, but go check it out just in case. There's really no reason not to. More beautiful wide shots. Cam tries talking to Sophie, but is unable to get through the rough exterior. I mean, she's beyond traumatized. She probably doesn't want to talk right now. She leaves, and this horrible child actor enters the room right afterwards. No offense to the kid, he did his best, but he shouldn't even be in this movie. His character adds literally nothing to the story, and I hate my life whenever he's on screen. Him and Sophie do some bonding, and... Wait, do I hear entrance music? Go, Jar! It's Chris Hansen with a steel chair! We jump back to the cops who have found all the dead bodies. They grab some pictures and load them all up into their pickup truck. Super Cop tells his underlings to secure the area, and when they're done, go check out the evil hotel. Sorry boys. He then gets on the radio with Creepus because they're the ones who deal with big cases like this. They're basically like the Norwegian FBI or whatever. And the guy on the other end is like, 5 dead bodies? One of the biggest killing sprees in Norwegian history? Cool story, bro. We'll send someone in the morning. Just sit tight until then. Very helpful. They arrive back at the hospital and continue photographing the corpses. Evidence! And Toby from the first one surely hasn't aged too well. Boss man cop dude notices the killer's birthmark and walks off all mysterious. Seems like he knows something we don't. Herman then tells our nurse friend to inform Sophie about the bodies, and everyone scatters. Pretty much just an excuse to get no-name nurse number 2 to be alone. Coward cop then jumpscare shows up. And hey, remember those characters from the first one with 0 qualities to them? Let's do that again. Introducing Man and Woman. They chit-chat for a bit, and we have the most awkward attempt at flirting that has ever been put to screen. My god. Meanwhile, Cam informs Sophie, and they head down to the morgue together. Sophie breaks into tears since she has no idea who's laying in front of her. Who the fuck is this? He looks nothing like Toby. Hashtag not my handyman. Sophie then punches the mountain man for a bit and gets taken back to her room. Phew, assaulting that meatbag really tired her out. While all this has been happening, the cops have been on an adventure and found a whole lot more bodies frozen in the ice cavern. Now's a good time to inform the FBI again. Meanwhile, back in the morgue, they're unable to remove Wun-Wun's clothing, and whoop-dee-doo, turns out he's still alive. Somewhat. Possibly? Maybe? They don't want to risk losing him again and buzz him back to life. Rookie mistake. They should have just let his ass stay dead. Even if they manage to revive him, he will never see the light of day again. While there is no death sentence in Norway, they place his ass in a psych ward for the rest of his life. You think he'd be let back into society? Of course not. They obviously have to revive him for the movie to happen, but it is so unbelievably stupid. Sophie screams at them not to do it, but Herman makes a call to go through with it. This is just never a risk worth taking. But okay, let's look at it from Head Doc's perspective. I'm willing to play devil's advocate here. Let's assume Sophie can't be trusted and is full of shit. Let's assume this 2-meter tall giant is just an innocent bystander and that she is a culprit. Which is extremely unlikely considering the size difference, but I'm game. Even then, why would you not restrain them both? Bring out the chains, put on your diamond armor, and tie him to the fucking bed. Do to the both of them until you have an actual story to go with. There's no such thing as too safe when it comes to serial killers. Station a couple of bodyguards next to him, not like they got shit else to do, and watch him till the FBI shows up next morning. And whatever you do, do not turn your back on him. Then do a thorough background check on Sophie, you have her name, and make it through the night. Bada bing, bada boom, easy peasy. So to reiterate, don't resurrect him, let him die. If you don't, lock his ass down and cripple his movement. Obviously characters in these movies aren't allowed to make good decisions, so Mr. Nosebleed handcuffs him to the bed and they call it a day. That should be enough to hold this behemoth, right? We get some more cringy flirting, but luckily the killer wakes up and puts an end to this embarrassment. No way to change this outcome unless they made better decisions from the start. Next we follow No Name Nurse, who takes a shower and prepares to go home, when suddenly the lights go out, cause you know, the scene is way more tense when they're alone in the dark. She turns the lights back on and Zombie Man teleports behind her and knocks her out. Nothing personnel, kid. He then brings her into the shower and finishes her off. The killer keeps messing with the lights, but luckily the emergency generator comes into play, so it's not all dark. Herman goes to check it out while Cam makes sure the patients are okay. Cam fumbles around in the dark and trips over the bloody fire extinguisher. She spots the dead nurse and runs away. I can't really blame her for panicking, but this is a pretty important discovery, because now she actually realizes she is in danger. Until this point, they've all been ignorant of the danger they're in, and because of it, haven't taken proper precautions. This is a turning point, and she needs to act accordingly. First and foremost, she should instantly call the cops to the hospital, because duh, and then she should get to the lobby to arm herself. The tools from earlier are still stashed there. We know that the killer just cut the lights and is most likely camping the generator, since someone is bound to come fix it. This should buy her at least a little bit of time. After that, she should rush to Sophie's room and release her, as she's already beaten the killer and possesses superhuman strength. They can then try to take the killer by surprise, or they can hide out and wait for the cops to arrive. The guy's footsteps can be heard from a mile away. So it wouldn't be difficult to get the jump on him. Just as I suspected, the killer is camping the generator like a 10-year-old in Call of Duty and breaks Dr. Touchy Hands' neck. Talk about useless. You couldn't even buy Cam 10 extra seconds. Cam comes running into the lobby to use the phone when she should have just used her mobile. The killer beats her to it and shows up to grab his trusty old pickaxe. This just got a lot more dangerous. We get this awful 3-minute long dream sequence, which shows that Sophie's still haunted by the events of the first movie, and she finally wakes up. She's surprised to see she's been bound to her bed, and maybe this is what they should have done to the killer. As she's trying to get out of her restraints, the door to her room slowly opens, and we think it might be the mountain, but it is something much, much, much worse. It's the child actor from earlier who shows up. She lures him over with a promise of candy or something, so he brings her a pair of scissors and cuts her loose. He tells her that the entire hospital has gone dark, so they leave her room and try to find a way out. They hear Gregor Clegane move towards them and dash around the corner to hide. The little shit doesn't take the hint and tries to talk, even though they are clearly in danger. And this is exactly why you don't try to save the kid. He's just a big fat distraction who will get you killed. Sophie realizes how stupid she's being, dragging his ass around, so she shoves him in a closet and tells him to be quiet. She makes her way to the hospital storage and checks the bottles the old-fashioned way. Realistically, she shouldn't be able to get in here, as the doors are typically locked and not just available to the public. Instead, what she should have done is found one of the still living hospital workers or looted one of the corpses for keys. This way she can actually go where she pleases, and she can get the help of a, licensed doctor or nurse who probably has some actual knowledge about these bottles and meds. They can then make a nice little cocktail mix and drug his ass properly, and preferably make it so they can throw it at him. Sophie fills up a syringe full of, drugs. But this is a bad call, as you want to use a range against this guy. If he grabs a hold of you because you're all up in his junk, it's game over. And remember, our main objective is to stay alive. Trading 1 for 1 doesn't do shit for us. Back in the lobby, Cam decides that she has waited long enough and makes a run for it. She grabs her phone and runs into another room to make a phone call. She calls her boyfriend, who obviously doesn't pick up, and leaves him a voice message to get help. She's then about to call the cops, but hears a noise from somewhere and walks through the door. She gets jumped by Sophie, who stabs her in the neck, but nothing leaks out of the syringe. The fall breaks her phone, so they do some chatting and share information. They make a plan to rescue the other residents of the hospital, but Cam runs off on her own to look for Herman because she loves him or whatever. This is really dumb, because either he's escaped the killer and is fine, in which case you don't need to look for him, or he's dead, in which case you definitely don't need to look for him. If we're Sophie in this case, we have to do everything in our power to keep Cam around. She works there and knows the ins and outs of the hospital, including all the exit doors and how to get around. You do not want to get trapped with a killer chasing you. Not to mention, she should carry your keys with her, in which case a locked door would be no hindrance. I would even go as far as to lie about finding Herman dead just to get her to stay with me. Cam is practically a walking encyclopedia in this situation, and we need to make use of her knowledge. Besides, 2 is better than 1, and you can abuse your numbers advantage. I agree they need to make a plan, but saving a senile old lady and some dumbass kid wouldn't be anywhere near my priority list. Sophie's out for blood, so revenge is a bigger factor than escape. Not to mention, the cops in this town are beyond useless, so it is likely we need to take it into our own hands. So instead, I would lay a trap for him and focus on attacking his knees. The guy's built like a skyscraper, and carrying all that weight for so long should seriously mess up his knees, which means they're fragile and easy to break. Knees weak, arms are heavy. This is further proven by the fact that his highest speed setting is a brisk walk, and he hasn't run since he was a kid. I know I mentioned earlier that you shouldn't get too close to him, but there's a big difference between jumping face first into him and tackling his knees. Once he's on the ground and unable to walk, we can just grab any tool we like and go to town. Cam instead makes her way through the hallway, but encounters a pickaxe wielding maniac and ducks into the morgue. Luckily, she's behind a big metal door, so she just needs to lock it and be safe. Never mind. She does a pretty good job at hiding while Harry Warden picks up his belongings, but she's been skipping the gym recently and loses her grip. Luckily, Sophie comes running down the ramp to rescue and knocks him off his feet. They then lock him inside and flee out the building together with a kid from earlier. They're greeted by boyfriend and the cops who have finally showed up. Pretty surprising, honestly, as I don't know a single person who's ever checked their voicemail. Oh hey, it's a police chief. Welcome back to the movie. Since he disappeared earlier, he's been researching the killer, and he learned that the mountain was stillborn for 4 hours before suddenly coming back to life. That would be one hell of a party trick if it wasn't for the fact that he's evil and all. So it seems like he's part zombie, which makes him slightly harder to take down. Sophie runs over to one of the cars to grab a shotgun, but she's not allowed to partake in the rescue mission since she's not a trained police officer, which I mean, fair. She gets placed in the car and the cops arm themselves to the teeth, ready to rush B. Although they should have for sure brought more backup. With how effective and dangerous the killer is, I would not go in there with only 3 guys. There is also a chance that he escaped the morgue, so I would send someone back to the abandoned hotel to wait for him in case he makes his way back there. Considering he has lived there for 30 plus years and has never left, he must have some sort of personal ties to it, which means he's very likely to end up back there if he ever gets the opportunity. Stationing a few snipers in the windows should be enough while you explore the hospital. The cops instead bum rush in to find the morgue empty and intend to pull back out to wait for backup. They hear socially awkward cops radio upstairs and find him dead in the hallway. No way, the guy we haven't heard from all night is dead? I can't believe it. Turns out this was a trap set by the killer, so Redhead gets pulled away from the group and killed. The others split up, so Usain Bolt sneaks around and runs down the boyfriend. He then uses his teleport ability, and from outside we see a whole bunch of gunshots, uncertain of his fate. The car gang are about to go inside and check it out when the last gunbender gets a pickaxe through the face. The killer terrorizes them from outside and pulls Cam out of the car to finish her off. At the last possible second, he gets hit by a shotgun blast and goes down for the count. Boyfriend to the rescue. Instead of planting a final bullet in his forehead and finishing the movie, Sophie walks over to Cam to see if they're okay. When she looks back, the killer is obviously gone. I mean shit, it's only been an hour and 12 minutes, of course. She spots a blood trail going back up to the mountain and realizes he's heading home. Oh yeah, it's final girl time. She suits up and gets on the snowmobile, ready to take him on one final time. Look at me. Look at me. I'm the cop now. She leaves Cam behind and drives back to the hotel. It's a bit too warm in here. Better put this back on. She writes down the names of her friends as she wants to ensure that they will never be forgotten. Her way of saying her final goodbyes. She then sits down to wait for birthmark. Bad idea as she instantly dozes off. This is obviously stupid on so many levels, but at this point it's personal and her actions aren't dictated by making good decisions. She wakes up to see a snow trail leading behind her and the killer is just standing there all menacingly.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
He grabs the shotgun and kicks her into some furniture that's definitely not from IKEA. As he's about to finish the job, he gets a shotgun blast through the back, courtesy of battle-hardened Cam. 2 final girls? This is revolutionary. It doesn't slow him down, so he smacks her and force pushes her out the door. He then picks her up and starts to crush her eyes, something Game of Thrones would shamelessly steal 6 years later. Sophie's having none of it, so she tosses his pickaxe straight through his chest, and he goes down for the count. Sophie has finally learned from her mistakes, so she double taps him to end his reign once and for all. Could we have beaten the killer? I would say yes, pretty easily. While he has a couple special abilities, he's still human with semi-human limits. He's not like Jason Voorhees, who will get disintegrated yet come back. He's just some big dude who's good at killing, which makes him beatable. I know this video is pretty different compared to other How to Beat series, so let me know what you think down in the comments. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing, as I've got more content on the way. Thank you for watching, I'll see you in the next one.